We'll call tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting for January 21st, 2020. And the council should have the minutes from the January 7th Committee of the Whole meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Don, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes from January the 7th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes carried. Cemeteries Advisory Board, Mayor Pro Tem Whitten.
Yes, sir. We have 2 vacancies on the Cemeteries Advisory Board. Term begins February the 5th, 2020 and ends February the 4th, 2024. We have one applicant, so we will only be able to fill one of the 2 open positions this evening. So I nominate Jerry Smith to serve a second term on the Cemeteries Advisory Board for the first position.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Jerry Smith to fill a second term on the Cemeteries Advisory Board. Are there any other nominations for this seat? Seeing none, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Smith, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion is carried, and we'll approve that later on in the consent agenda.
And then on the second term, or the second position, we'll just need to repost that position and not vote on anybody until then. But Mr. Byers has agreed to serve in that capacity until we choose his replacement.
Okay. So, Ms. Crouchwood, officially what we'll do is we'll extend the opening for people to apply for that position until the next meeting?
That's correct. We'll go ahead and reopen the applications. It's our understanding there was at least one additional person interested who missed the deadline. We'll reopen it, and it will likely be reappointed or appointed at your February 4th meeting if we can get it open in a long enough window.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions on the agenda for Assistant City Manager Crouch? Seeing none, do I have a move to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Committee of the Whole is adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start our council meeting right at 7 o'clock, okay? We'll open the Auburn City Council meeting for January 21st, 2020, and welcome everyone tonight for attending. At this point in time, we'll do the roll call. Valerie?
Hey, Dawson.
Here.
Gibson.
Here.
Griswold.
Here.
Covey.
Here.
Parsons.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Britton.
Here.
Andrews.
Here. Would you please rise for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, and then a moment, and please remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Earlier tonight, during the Committee of the Whole, the City Council reappointed Mr. Jerry Smith to the Cemeteries Advisory Board. Mr. Smith had served one term and was seeking a second term. We did have another opening available, and we did not have an applicant at this point in time, and so Mr. Randy Byers has agreed to stay on the Cemeteries Advisory Board until we can appoint someone. We'll leave that open and hopefully get that done at the first meeting in February. Under announcements, I do have a number of things I'd like to try to cover tonight and do the best we can. Last week, our city very proud to host the Project Mfg Competition out at our Advanced Manufacturing Center. We had 4 different teams of students from junior colleges around our state come to Auburn for 3 days in an event that was co-sponsored by the Department of Defense, Auburn University, and Auburn University's College of Engineering, Southern Union, and the City of Auburn. It was a great experience to watch these young people try to figure things out and solve problems. It was very interesting that the Department of Defense was involved in this because they see as these are going to be critical jobs and critical knowledges that we're going to need to protect the country in the future. And I was very proud of our staff and Amy Brabham and her staff and the economic development staff for how they hosted this event. When I was out there, everybody seemed to be very pleased to be in Auburn, and I believe by and large the event went well, and hopefully we'll be able to host more of these events in the future. And Ms. Crouch or Mr. Dunlap, if I've left anything out, please make sure you fill it in. Okay, good. Yesterday, a number of us were able to attend the Martin Luther King breakfast. Once again, Ms. Christina Cook was over there, and I think I saw her walk in a while ago. Outstanding job again. What a great time to be reflective upon our country and some of the challenges we've had as a country, and certainly where we are today. And I just appreciate the cooperation, especially from National Forum of Black Public Administrators for all their work and efforts to put that breakfast on yesterday on behalf of all of our community. So it went really, really well. This Thursday is the Fire Department's annual Brookshire Memorial opportunity out at Memorial Park Cemetery to remember the life of our one firefighter who lost his life in serving our city, Mr. Roger Brookshire, and that is Thursday morning if any of you'd like to attend. This afternoon we had the ribbon cutting for the skateboard park, and this is another collaborative effort between the cities of Opelika and the cities in Auburn, and had a great crowd out there today. If you've not seen the skateboard park, it's at Indian Pines near the golf course, and it was a lot of fun. It's a first-class skateboard park. I'm very proud of the commitment our two cities have put together to offer this amenity for those people who enjoy this. There were young people on skateboards and young people on bicycles that were having a good time. Do not believe the rumor that I was considering getting on a skateboard and testing the park out. That is not true, but there are people that are starting that rumor. But anyway, it was a lot of fun today, and we certainly look forward to all of our young people having a great time at the park. On tonight's consent agenda is a tax abatement for the Winkelman Company. Winkelman has been in Auburn for a number of years, and they're going to reinvest $2.2 million into their plant out there, capital investment, and hire 12 people. We're very proud of that. Thank you for Winkelman for reinvesting in our city and believing in our community. And I'm proud of, once again, our Economic Development Department and how they've worked with all the folks out at Winkelman. This is the announcement that was made during the fall. You might remember when the governor came to town to make that announcement, but tonight we'll be approving the abatement. Last week, I was able to address the Leadership Lee County group. This is a group of people who spend the year going to different entities in and around our communities in Lee County and learning how the county works. And our own David Dorton is on their board, and I appreciate, and we had a number of employees that were in this year's class, and I just appreciate those people investing their time and giving up a day of work once a month to try to understand why things are done in our county and why things are done in our city. So thank you for all that. Finally, I just want to make a basic announcement about Health Plus and the situation with the pool out there and the club. I said after the last meeting, first meeting in January, that I would ask for a meeting with the hospital staff and discuss the situation with them. And we had that meeting on Friday. After our last meeting earlier this month, we met with the senior staff of the hospital and discussed with them what the possibilities were. We asked them to consider everything. They have not gotten back to us with any type of response as of yet. I thought we had a fair meeting, a very informative meeting. I asked them to reconsider what they were doing, if they could wait and delay that, and if so, what would be the possibility for the city's partnership in that. So there are no promises still, and certainly we have not received any information from the hospital as to what that would look like if it would be a possibility. I want to be very open and honest with you that I appreciate what the hospital wants to do in the future with that, because they're wanting to bring more doctors to our community, which we desperately need. And they're going to locate those doctors in Auburn, which is a really good thing for our community. And ultimately, that's their business, and they understand their business a lot better than certainly I do. So I certainly respect Ms. Grill and her senior staff for the decisions they make and how they make their decisions. But we did have a great discussion with them. I do believe that they'll consider the things we asked them to consider, but I do not know what their response will be. And so once we receive that response, we will certainly let the public know what that is. Okay? All right. Are there any other announcements from the council tonight? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. We'll have a Ward 2 public meeting, be day after tomorrow, Thursday evening, be at 6 o'clock in the Auburn Public Library. Hope to see all y'all there, and folks from other wards would like to attend, you're certainly welcome. Thank you.
And I also have an announcement for February the 15th. At the Baskin Community Center, there will be a senior citizen Valentine Ball, and I am joining with the Opelika City Council, Tiffany Gibson, with this ball. So the public is invited to attend. It will be at the Baskin Center from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and everybody's invited, and we will be giving away prizes for the best dressed and the best dancers.
That's great, Connie. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, anyone else from the council? Okay, seeing none, Auburn University Communications.
Good evening. Auburn SGA and Parking Services are excited to announce that starting this semester, students will be able to receive a free ride home up to $10 through Lyft. This service will be available to pick up students from the Toomer's Corner area or the Student Center Transit Loop at night, giving students a safe and cost-effective way to get home. Our beloved mascot, Aubie, competed in the UCA National Mascot Competition this past weekend, where he placed first in video and second overall in the D1 mascot division. Aubie has placed either first or second for the past 12 years, which only proves what we already knew about him being the best. SGA is partnering with the College of Agriculture, Dining, and Facilities to bring campus composting to the Plains. The compost site can soon be found in the College of Agriculture's teaching garden. We hope it will serve as an educational representation of the food chain for students, faculty, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where you go?
At this time, it's an opportunity for the citizens to communicate with the council about items that are on the agenda. These are items only on the agenda. Please come forward and give your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes, but remember that these are items that are only on tonight's agenda. Okay?
I'm not sure that this is on the agenda, but you just spoke about it. It's about the pool.
That would be at the end of the meeting. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any item that we will be considering on our agenda? Yes, sir.
I might stand and be corrected, but My name is Robert M. Ward, and I live out in South College.
Yes, sir.
And apparently, this is my third attempt.
What's your address on South College, Mr. Ward?
It's 891 Lee Road 395.
Okay.
And I got a letter from y'all 2 months back about the Greens wanting to do another add-on or addition.
There is a public hearing for that decision later on in the agenda.
In this one? Okay,
Yes, sir.
then I'll wait my turn.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Your patience. Yes, sir. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll move forward with the city manager's communications.
Well, the good news is I have no communications. So our first item of business is the consent agenda, Mayor, if you're ready to move forward. And does any city council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item individually?
Yes, ma'am. F3 and 5.
F3 and 5. Okay. Any others, Mayor?
Anyone else want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll
All right, we shall continue to item 8F3, authorizes the execution of a preliminary engineering agreement with the Alabama Department of Transportation for lighting and landscaping improvements on I-85 at Exit 50. The contract amount is estimated to be $100,000 and is part of an 80-20 grant, and what that means is the city's grant match is estimated to be $20,000 and a federal grant is estimated to be $80,000.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second? All right, any questions or comments? Mr. Dawson?
I just wanted to hear you say that. I've been waiting to hear
I know it, the next one's even more exciting when we get to that
since
one.
2011, so
That's right, your patience is noted.
I have.
We'll record those as comments, not questions, Tommy. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yes, ma'am, continue.
All right, and item 8F5 authorizes the execution of a construction agreement with the Alabama Department of Transportation for lighting and landscaping improvements that will actually be installed at Interstate 85 and Exit 50. The contract amount is estimated to be $1.1 million and is part of an 80-20 grant. The city's grant match is estimated to be $220,000 and the federal funding will be $880,000.
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
I just like to see on a serious note, I did want to hear her say it, but I do appreciate the staff's hard work in containing the grants and things that went into it. I know a lot of work goes into that, and appreciate it. We're very excited to be finally getting some lights out there at Exit 50. Maybe we won't have nothing bad to happen. We got the lights out there, so it's really much needed, and we really appreciate it.
Tommy, you're to be commended because you've been mindful of this project for as long as I've served up here.
Doesn't nice way send our word to food like that?
So that's okay, if that's how you put it, but I think you've served your constituents well, and this is finally happening, so congratulations to you, and we're happy to do it.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we've already had a motion seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
All right, under ordinances, I apologize, I'm getting you past the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the rest of the consent
Do
agenda.
I have a
Mayor.
motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, a motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved.
All right, now we're ready for ordinances.
Yes, ma'am.
Under ordinances this evening, item 9A1 is authorizing the installation of 2 stop signs in Mims Trail subdivision, 9th edition, Phase A. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce ordinance, ask for unanimous consent. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Okay, seeing none, roll call for the consent agenda. For the unanimous consent. Go ahead, Valerie.
Taylor?
Oh, yes.
Witten?
Yes.
Dawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Nixon?
Yes.
Griswold?
Yes, ma'am.
Cody? Parsons?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Anders?
Yes. Okay, do I have a motion and a second to actually vote on establishing these stop signs to approve these?
Move for approval. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
All right, item 9A2 is authorizing the installation of 4 stop signs and 1 25-mile-an-hour sign in Mims Trail subdivision, 10th edition. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing none. Valerie?
Benton,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey, Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes. Now, do I have a motion to approve these 4 stop signs?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call again, Valerie?
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith, Taylor,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes. On the other one?
It's okay.
Okay. Do we need to go back and do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
All right. So item 9A1, we're going to go back, if the council would, to the first one and do a roll call vote. We approved it by motion, but we'll do it by roll call to establish 2 stop signs in the Mims Trail subdivision, 9th edition. Okay? Roll call. Go ahead, Valerie.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Andrews.
Yes.
All right, item 9B1 is a request for annexation by Dennis and Melissa Hanson for approximately 3.89 acres located at 5962 Alabama Highway 147 North, also known as Heath Road. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its January 9th, 2020 meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward voting on this evening? Seeing no response, roll call. Valerie?
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes. Now, do I have a motion and a second to approve this annexation?
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Valerie, roll call.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Item 9B2 is a request for annexation by Don Allen on behalf of Donald H. Allen Development Incorporated for approximately 2.86 acres located at 2230 Estate Drive. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its January 9th, 2020 meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent. Second.
Motion is second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with the vote on this evening? Seeing none, roll call.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Andrews.
Yes. And now do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved. Second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Roll call again, Valerie.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Andrews.
Yes.
Item 9B3 is a request for annexation from Bret Baskin on behalf of Donahue Land LLC for approximately 3.03 acres located at the eastern terminus of Whiskey Run Lane, south of North Donahue Drive. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its December 12, 2019 meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Point of order. Did we skip 9B2?
We just did that.
That was that one?
We just did
You
that.
just voted on the Don Allen one,
Yeah,
you voted
so-
voted on.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion for this. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, we do have a motion. Second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing none, Valerie?
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey, Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes. Now do I have a motion to approve this annexation?
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Valerie with a roll call.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, there any questions on this? Yeah?
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, go ahead.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Harvey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Andrews.
Yes.
All right, item 9C1 is related to item 9B3 and is a request from Bret, Baskin on behalf of Donahue Land LLC to rezone approximately 3.03 acres from rural to development district housing. The subject property is located at the eastern terminus of Whiskey Run Lane, south of North Donahue Drive. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its December 12, 2019 meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary and a public hearing is required.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? All right, seeing none, roll call, Valerie.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak to the council regarding this, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
We had one.
We had one? I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, you're next, okay. Okay, all right. See no one. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any comments or questions for the staff? Okay, roll call, Valerie.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes.
All right, item 9C2 is a request from Hugh Jarrett on behalf of the Greens at Auburn Land Development LP, not LLP, to amend ordinance number 2463 that approved the Plan Development District designation on 253 acres known as the Greens at Auburn, located at 4235 College Street, South College Street. The request is to modify a portion of the commercial area by changing approximately 15.67 acres to a residential use, multi-unit development. This proposal includes 324 multifamily units. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its December 12, 2019 meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary and a public hearing is required.
Plan to use ordinance, ask unanimous consent.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Valerie?
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes. This time, we'll open the public hearing for this. If you'd like to address the city council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Michael Ward Sr., and unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity to say my words at the earlier meetings. I was
Address again, sir, is?
891 Lee Road 395.
Thank you.
Known as the Bar W Farm. It's been there since 1952.
Thank you.
Anyways, I got my letter, and I came up here, and I don't know Mr. Cotton, if he come up here and shook my hand. Is he here?
I'm sitting right here.
Okay, Mr. Cotton. But anyways, he'll remember this. I came up here and I waited and waited to give my little talk and found out the owner of the Greens wasn't even here, and he'd canceled out, and I was kind of ill at him. I was upset that he said he only had a 4-hour notice, and I thought maybe he could have called me, okay? Enough on that. But he did, Mr. Cotton did call me the next day, and I said, please keep me notified on this subject, near and dear to my heart. Said he would. The man canceled again. I said, please let me know. Well, I never got informed. I didn't get an opportunity to speak then, so I'm going to speak now. I'm adamantly opposed to this project. I support the man's right to develop his property, I really do. But there's a lot of criteria there that's been ignored, and one of them is safety issues, and the other one is environmental. Since the Greens was implemented, there's 2 ways for the people to get out, and it's a little offset road, and they're constantly pulling out in front of other people all the time. But the other thing is the city of Auburn uses the Sand Hill recycling, And unfortunately, I've lived there 63 years. I've been documenting this for years and years, videos, pictures. I've been up here before, been to the council. I'd like to show you, these pictures were taken yesterday. Now, if they want to add more traffic to this, this is the mud that's being tracked out here by your vehicles or our vehicles. It's not safe. Can I give these to you?
Sure, yeah, just,
Dawson, good to see you, sir. But I've complained about this for years. I own almost 3/4 mile of Chewalka Creek, which is just downstream of this. I'm a next door neighbor. Now, the sand hill sweeps the mud and continues to this day into the tributary that runs through my property where I have federally protected mussels. The sewage treatment plant is just 200 yards away. And when you add more asphalt, every vehicle out there is going to have more antifreeze, more oil leaks, et cetera, et cetera. My federally protected mussels are on their last leg. You know, sooner or later, there's going to be a straw that breaks a camel's back. And when I meet my maker, I'm going to tell him I tried. And I spoke up for him. I have to ask y'all, what are you going to tell him? You ignored? I mean, I don't want to stop production in Auburn. Auburn has done a lot of wonderful things in my lifetime. All of y'all should be very proud. I am. We're one of the best places going. We got some of the best teachers here, fire department, policemen. The list goes on and on. But there's still accountability. I mean, how much can I take? How much more can I take? With the mud and more people coming in, there's no traffic lights out there. I mean, I said back on the very beginning that this thing needed to be 4-laned all the way at least to the top of the hill at the church to make it safe. Now, when you put all this mud that's being brought out here by city vehicles and add more traffic to it, you're making a disaster. You know, it's a good recipe. I don't want to be a part of that. My family lives out there. You know, I'm the third of 5 generations that lived out there. We've lived out there in peace and harmony. I'm not asking for anything special. I'm not saying don't let the man build, but can we do something about the mud? Can we do something about traffic light and safety in the meantime, besides just collecting more revenue? I mean, that's all I'm asking this council. By all means, let him do what he needs to do, but let's do it legally and environmentally. I guess I've preached all I can preach, but I will say this. Talking about our police department, we ran into some rough times. My mom passed this past year, and I had an officer, he was a corporal at the time. I think he's sergeant now. I believe his name is Gaither. I may be wrong. But I tell you what, I long to see that man take over this gentleman's job. We have some fine police officers. Most of the ones that I've affiliated with are my age, or either dead or retired. But I am very proud of what Auburn is and the direction that it's headed. But I think we've seen 2 space shuttles blow up. Anything's possible. All we can do is the best that we know how to do. And that's all I'm doing today is giving you my best. So, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. Ma'am, do y'all have any questions of me?
anyone on the council have any questions?
I'd just like to point out, we do have, we did get the light added. I'm sure you saw it, Country Quick, Leroy 10 and I-29 light, the red light there. And anybody want to leave this complex can actually come out on 10 and go up to the red light and get out there.
This new addition, they'll have to come out through the red light?
I think they can still get up there and go out on 10 and come out and meet the red light at what is now Cox Road. And then also, it's DOT's responsible for that road, so it makes it hard for us to get anything done. I would love to see it 4-lane all the way to county line.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day we'll get, with this new gas tax, maybe we can do something like that. We'll get the state to do it, but believe me, we work hard on trying to get that kind of stuff done, but just the money right now is not available.
Well, I see the police out there quite frequently and not enough. I mean, they're a welcome sight in my neighborhood. I appreciate it. I wish there was a way that we could kind of dress it up a little bit. That is a corridor coming in from Auburn, from Tuskegee. And I own an RV park. I have people come from all over the United States and Canada, but when they drive by the mud and trash dumps and the buzzards flying around, it's really not a sight to behold. But maybe one day we'll live long enough to see it.
Thank you for making us aware of it, Mr. Ward.
All right, thank y'all for your time, and I appreciate y'all. I hope your families do too.
Ms. Taylor, did you have a question
Yeah, I
for
do
Mr.
have
Ward?
a question.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a cousin that live out here, and I'm trying to make sure that we're in the same area. Are we talking about, if you're coming out of Auburn, and the church you're talking about, is that Mount Vernon sitting on that hill?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay, that's my church. Okay, where's the development gonna be here? I'm a little confused.
If you were going from Country Quick, you know, towards the church, it's immediately over on your left, as soon as you pass Country Quick.
Okay, so it's some apartments already out there, right?
There's already some there. My understanding, I haven't seen any of the plats or anything. I'm assuming it's going to be closer to the highway this time.
It is. It'll be out front near the entrance that comes right off of College on either side. That will be where the new development will be located.
Okay, so I guess the complaint that's been brought, and it hasn't been brought to the council, but I think it was brought to the city council person, is that Sand Hill, I guess that dumping area out there, and that went from coming to the city council to the state legislator, I think, is the response that he got about there. So is this, I guess my question is this new complex going to be affected by the same problems that's being complained about now when you say safety? Because the thing about it is what they're complaining about, you know, it's a subdivision.
Yes, ma'am.
On the right-hand side of the road, once you pass these dumpsters, and you're going up, and there's this little subdivision sitting on the top of the hill. Okay, those people has been complaining about the same thing, safety and everything. So I was just wondering, and I don't know if the developer is here tonight, but is it going to be the same issue
With safety.
as the issue is now, even though the line stops somewhere there that the city doesn't have anything to do with, but it sort of kind of all goes together, I would think.
My concern is, Mr. Dawson just told me, first I heard of it, is if this new development is being forced to come through the traffic light instead of those two little jump-on easements, you know, I feel a lot better. But to add any more into those things, because all the people do is just pull out in front of
Not forced to come through, but they do have the option for us, correct me if I'm wrong, to go up and go out and come out to the red light.
Yes.
Well, if y'all want to make some money for your revenue, you send the officer out there in an unmarked car and you can get tickets all day long, because the people do not yield right away out there. They just zip out there, and if you got good brakes, you're happy. If you don't, you're being looked. Well, thank y'all so much for your time, ma'am. I really appreciate your questions there and your concern. I really do. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question for you. So you don't object to the development?
No.
You object to the road conditions and the mud and whatnot that accumulates, regardless whether this happens or not?
That is correct, yes, sir. When you add more traffic to what I just showed you, then it's a bigger recipe.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's just a bigger recipe. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm proud of y'all too. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the council regarding this? I thought there was another gentleman that got up a little earlier and said.
Speaking of resolution.
Okay. Okay. All right. So seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments on this development? Any questions or comments for staff? Okay.
So what is going to be the outcome as far as the road conditions? I mean, is there anything that, what he's asking for as far as the road conditions and stuff?
The recycling center is unrelated to this project. Any additional traffic that they are adding will be handled in a traffic study. I'll check with the city engineer and see if that's been submitted yet. No, not yet. No, normally that happens in the development review team process and would be submitted if there's mitigating circumstances that are required on South College. They would have to install that as part of this development. One of the challenges is all of that comes without DOT approval as they control the road in this location and certain aspects of it, but they have to meet city traffic engineering standards, and that's something that'll be looked at as part of this if you are inclined to approve it.
Code enforcement officers have any purview over that section of road in regards to what Mr. Ward was speaking about, the mud and the debris on the roadway?
But being carried off from a jurisdictional standpoint from a parcel that's in the county, we do not have direct jurisdiction. While we can try to collaborate, and we do, we don't have direct jurisdiction from our erosion control ordinance standpoint.
Any other questions or comments?
Since it is in Ward 8, I'll be more than happy to speak with the owner of that place and ask if they pay a little more attention to it, and I'm sure they will. They've been more cooperative every time we've asked them to do something like that. So I think it can be handled pretty easily without getting all worked up over it.
Thank you, Tommy. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote at this point in time. Ms. Valerie?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor?
Yes, ma'am.
Switten?
Yes.
Dawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon?
Yes.
Griswold?
Yes, ma'am.
Covey? Andrews?
No.
Item 9D is a commercial development agreement between the City of Auburn and the Flying Wasp LLC for Big Mike's Steakhouse located at 610 Shig-Jordan Parkway. The agreement includes a rebate of sales taxes generated in the amount of up to $33,500 per year, or $301,500 for a period not to exceed 9 years.
Introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing none, roll call, Valerie.
Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor?
Yes.
Switten?
Yes.
Dawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon?
Yes.
Griswold?
Yes.
Covey?
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I neglected to say a public hearing is required.
Okay, I got it. So at this point in time, we'll open the public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to address the city council on this, please, about this issue, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay. All right. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. I have a motion from the council.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions for staff? Or any comments you would have on this?
My understanding, this was just a continuation of the incentive program that was with the former tenant.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
That was originally a 12-year rebate, and it was done. The building owner is one and the same, but the operating entity, Stinky's Fish Camp was in the building. The Big Mike Steakhouse operating entity that has placed a new restaurant in that facility is not part of this rebate. This rebate was to the building owners. We had a vacant building for about a 4-year period, and they came in and placed a different restaurant in there, and they requested at the time Stinky's closed, would staff consider placing on an agenda for your consideration starting the rebate again if they got a new tenant, and we said we would bring it forward, and this tenant generates similar sales taxes and so on, and is a good use for this building.
A unique product in our market, correct?
It is one of the key kind of tenements of our commercial development program, or two major things, is occupying vacant buildings and also dealing and working through incentives for tenants that we don't currently have in the market. Auburn has one other steakhouse that is slated to open, but this is the only one open at this time. The other one, I may have wrong information, may not be open yet, but it's working toward getting open. It's on South College. But we're also looking to offer different product in Auburn. You can get steaks at a variety of restaurants, but there's nothing that's really a steakhouse, and we want to keep our tax dollars in the city limits as much as possible. And right now, or prior to Big Mike's opening, this building was generating no sales taxes in the period in which the closure happened, and now it's back to generating sales taxes again.
Thank you, Megan. You know, this building did sit empty for 4 years. To me, it's at a kind of a unique area of Auburn that having great commercial uses is very positive for our community. The restaurant that was there was a unique restaurant to our community and something we were all very excited about at the time, and I believe this restaurant will be the same. Personally, my family went a couple of Sundays ago and had a great experience out there, so I appreciate the developers taking a building that was sitting empty and idle and bringing new life to it, especially in a strategic area of community. So
So $2 million capital investment, we've capped it at $300,000, is that right, or $300,000?
Yeah, we capped it at $301,500. And again, this is just taking, there's a 2 years and change had passed while Stinky's was open, and that kind of third year is lopped off and we're doing a 9-year rebate. We need to start even for our finance department to easily track. So it's a full 9 years and they can get up to $33,500 per year. But remember, it's an incentive of sales taxes that wouldn't be generated without the restaurant occupying the building. So we're not giving away revenue we were previously receiving.
Plus, you're going to mark in here about 50 jobs created too.
Absolutely. And, the owners also invested, the building owners, let alone the tenant, invested additional funds over and above what was done for Stinky's because additional modifications had to be made to accommodate a steakhouse.
I've never heard of Big Mike's. They have a pretty good reputation. Is it somewhere else?
Megan, help me, this is their
Locations.
5th restaurant, 6th restaurant, 6th
Multiple
location?
locations all over Alabama. I've had nothing but positive comments from citizens for months who heard it might be coming, who were very interested in us. Please get a Big Mike's. The most well-known location for a lot of our citizens is the Orange Beach location. It's on Canal Road there, and a lot of people have patronized them and in other parts of the state, and we're really looking forward to having a Big Mike's in Auburn.
And the incentive is only realized if the revenue that they generate is realized.
Absolutely. We have a 4% local sales tax levy. 1.25% of that off the top goes to Auburn City School. That leaves 2.75%, and we are willing to split up to 1.375% with somebody, but we cap it annually and in total so we can budget for it, and it's the least amount necessary to help facilitate a project and encourage people to do things like redevelop vacant buildings like this one on major corridors.
All right, any other comments or questions for staff? Roll call vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mayor, under resolutions this evening, item 10A1 is a request by Shane Yarborough on behalf of the City of Auburn for conditional use approval of a public surface use, a park, also known as Denny's Park, and its property located at 1435 East Glen Avenue in the Comprehensive Development District and the Development District housing zones. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at their January 9th, 2020 meeting. A public hearing is required.
This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak to the council on this, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion from the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10A2 is a request from Mark Lyden on behalf of Terry Parker for conditional use approval of a public service use, a telecommunications tower, for property located on Wimberley Road, adjacent to 3964 Wimberley Road in the Development District Housing Zoning District. The Planning Commission recommended approval at its January 9, 2020 meeting by a 6-2 vote. A public hearing is required.
Okay, this time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record.
My name is Wendy Cleveland. I live at 109 Brattle Court, Woodland Park, Phase 1. Thank you, council members, for your time and service. I'm here tonight because I oppose the building of a cell tower on the land directly across the street from our Woodland Park subdivision. I don't know a lot about cell towers, and I've been learning a lot in the past week. I've seen them often while driving around, and it seems they're out in the country or nowhere near people's homes or schools, which leads me to believe they may not be safe. In my recent research, I have concluded that much is still unknown about the effects of electromagnetic fields, EMFs. Some claim there are no harmful effects, while others advocate the need for more research. Because of this, and because of their unsightly appearance, I oppose the plan to erect a cell tower in close proximity to Woodland Park. In an extensive research study entitled Cell Phones, Cell Towers, and Wireless Safety, Dr. Joel M. Moskowitz, director of the Center for Family and Community Health in the School of Public Health at UC Berkeley, concluded that numerous recent scientific publications have shown that EMF affects living organisms. These effects include increased cancer risk, cellular stress, increase in harmful free radicals, genetic damage, structural and functional changes of the reproductive system, learning and memory deficits, neurological disorders, negative impacts on general well-being in humans. There is growing evidence of harmful effects in both plants and animal life as well. It seems like we're putting the cart before the horse by erecting a cell tower before we determine the risk. Senator Richard Blumenthal in 2019 said, quote, "So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here as far as health and safety is concerned," end quote. Woodland Park is a thriving neighborhood with many children. Drive there during the morning and you'll see lots of kids out waiting for the bus. Go there in the afternoon and you'll see them all around on their bikes and their skateboards playing sports. It's a wonderful, lively community. Why build a cell tower so close to our homes when there might be numerous dangers from EMFs? Secondly, cell towers are tall and hard to disguise, which makes them eyesores. Because of this, many people do not want a cell tower near their neighborhoods, and many others will not purchase a house in the vicinity of a cell tower, which adversely impacts our property value. I ask you, council members, to consider the unknown potential health risks of a cell tower built so dangerously close to our residential neighborhood, and how this would negatively affect the resale value of our homes. If this were your neighborhood, how would you vote?
Who would be next?
Darren Olson, and my address is 106 Bridle Court. I agree with all the comments that my neighbor just spoke, not knowing all the science behind the health concerns and so forth. It certainly is a concern. The other thing that was mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting that I think bears mentioning here again is that 2 cell towers fell in Lee County just this past year. I think everybody's familiar with the one by the Wild Horse Saloon that fell during the high wind event. And this is a tall cell tower that's very close to the homes in Woodland Park. I think some emails were sent around showing that, I mean, depending on how tall it is, our homes are within the fall radius or close there too. Certainly debris fall and so forth could be a problem. I think the property owner spoke at the Planning Commission meeting and said if it wasn't allowed in the city, that he has some property in the county that he would pursue erecting the cell tower on, which would be better. It would be farther away and maybe would mitigate some of the concerns as far as the residents of Woodland Park are concerned. It's not only Woodland Park. There's residents that are concerned on the south side of where the tower would be planned on Wimberley Road. They have some similar concerns that we do as well. The other thing that came up was, although it wasn't in the purview of the Planning Commission, is that the location of the tower, where they had done some early site studies, was not within the setback requirements of, I guess it was the city. And they were going to pursue a variance. Well, that variance would put it closer to Woodland Park, which would be bad for a lot of people you have here in the audience, the neighbors, and we would not be in favor of that. So, I think, for the reasons that have been mentioned, and maybe some that we added about, high wind events, the tower falling and so forth, I'm strongly opposed to it, as I know a lot of my neighbors are as well.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Council people, my name is Murray Guy, and I'm a resident of 119 Carriage House Lane, which is also the subdivision of Woodland Park. My fellow neighbors did a better job than I could explaining it from health concerns, but so I will not go into that again. But one thing that concerns me is if you looked at the map, you could see how close it really is to our subdivision. Just because it says Wimberley Road, and I know the people to the south of us are concerned about it too, but it's actually closer to our subdivision than most of the homes south of it. Yes, you have to cross the railroad tracks, but it will hover over our neighborhood. And I am concerned as a parent of 3 kids of the And for myself, on the location of it, for safety reasons, I'm not a doctor, so I will not touch on the study that our neighbor talked about before. And I'm also a business person, and I also pay property tax, and I am extremely worried about the property value of my home too. That is a very concern of mine. As y'all know, we pay a premium for our property because we love Auburn, and I am afraid that that value would go considerably down. I also wanted to also make a point that my neighbor just mentioned, that it has been discussed that this person has opportunity to places elsewhere outside the county, and I realize that that would be potentially less revenue for the city because of property taxes that they could occur. However, I feel like that would definitely be offset by the potential decrease in home values that are in the neighborhoods north, south, east, and west of that cell tower location. And if I'm missing anything, neighbors, please help fill it. Thank y'all.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Russell Wood, 223 Tally Ho Drive, also in the Woodland Park subdivision. In the interest of time, I don't know if y'all want to hear from all of us, but if anybody hasn't spoke back here, please throw a hand up so I can see how many people are here. I'm in agreement with everything my neighbors have said. The only thing I wanted to add to that discussion is the proximity to the railroad track. Just the vibrations when trains come by, we feel those in our homes. And talking about the wind potentially blowing this over, I'm more concerned about the stability of the ground underneath it when that train consistently going by, and what would happen if that tower fell toward the railroad track and toward Highway 14. So please, appreciate you taking that into consideration.
Yes, sir. Who would be next?
Sorry, I got another one here. Yep.
Mr.
Matt Wingate, 102 Tally Ho, Woodland Park. We actually just moved to Auburn in August. My wife and I got a young family. Show you pictures if you like. My daughter's 3, my son's 6 months. But yeah, we're new to the neighborhood. I heard some concerns about the tower, and at first, really, I couldn't care one way or the other until I started really digging into it and realizing, the numbers that have fallen over the years, and the fact that my main concern is the safety of my family, and the fact that if you look at a map, mine's right there at the end of the cul-de-sac, so I'm facing 14. We hope to be at that location a long time, but hopefully we can work this out. We're going to keep everybody safe and everything else my neighbor said. So thank y'all for the time.
Yes, sir. Welcome, Tim. Anyone else? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Was there another person? Yes, sir. Okay.
The applicant.
I apologize. Didn't see you get
Mark
up.
Wyden, how you doing? I'm working with Mr. Terry Parker as well as representing Verizon Wireless, who is developing the cell tower. May I distribute this to the council? There's 8 council members and the mayor should be nominated. And this is a before and after study of why we want the tower where it is. It's not like you can put a tower anywhere you want to and service the community. And that's really why we're doing this, is to service the residents as well as the students of Auburn University. There's a big hole in that service area, and we're trying to fill that gap, not only with voice, but data also. And as you know, the technology has changed, and the volumes of data coming out, it just takes a lot more horsepower, so to speak, in data. And that's why we're placing it where it is, on Mr. Parker's property. And as far as some of the objections as far as health goes, you can go to fcc.com and you can get studies that I'm holding this right now. I'm getting more EMFs than a cell tower 250 feet away. Property values, there's numerous studies showing it does not adversely affect property values. high wind events, tornadoes. I'm trying to imagine what can survive a tornado, a direct hit, a house, a tree, office building. I was in downtown Nashville years ago when a tornado went through downtown Nashville. It destroyed a lot of things in downtown. So those high wind events are pretty much very small as far as probability goes. But we're 250 feet from any resident, over 250 feet. We have a setback issue, which is a different board, which we're willing to address depending on what you all decide this evening. And we'll go back before the BZA and request that if we have an approval today. But we're simply asking for a conditional use to improve the communications within this area of Auburn, the city of Auburn, to improve the wireless connectivity to not only the residents but the students of Auburn University. And then there's a second part to that study also. That's a description from the RF engineer from Verizon describing in detail, a lot of it's technical, on why we need that tower or why they want the tower where it is. So, I mean, that's simply why we want it where it is. So, but we're simply asking for your approval and taking the recommendation of the Planning Commission last month. So, but I appreciate your time and for this. Thank you.
Yes,
Sir, would you answer a few questions? Okay.
Have you got a second site identified in case the council doesn't pass this request?
A second site identified? Right now, we don't, no.
Some neighborhood members who have mentioned that you potentially were located in the county. Is that any truth to that?
I think Mr. Parker alluded to it. He owns land all around there. Right now, Verizon has zeroed in on this. We've already conducted our NEPA studies, almost done, the National Environmental Policy Act, which is a requirement of our FCC license, is in progress right now. It's about a 3 to 6 month study. That's in progress right now. And there haven't been any hiccups as far as environmental issues. The FAA is preliminary approved. Those are the big permits. I call them the big permit, the federal permits. And then, of course, state and local are very important also, as this board is here. So that's where we're at right now, and that is the gap on that propagation study or the before and after maps. That's where it shows that hole that we're trying to fill right now. If we move the tower east or west or north or south, that hole will still be there if it's not covered, so.
But to the original question, that you do not have a secondary site?
No, we do not have another site under option or anything, none whatsoever. This is the second site that we had pretty much identified, but the other one didn't work out, so.
This, I'm very limited to my technology on this, but will it increase the amount of, I guess, users? So during a football game here in town, you know, cell phone service gets blocked pretty easily. Will this help alleviate that issue?
Oh, it will, because it's like the data issue will be helped immensely. During large events like football games and other stadium events, they put up a lot of small cells around town, I think in the parking lot maybe, or maybe even they have them in the stadium themselves, but it's like a pipeline, and the bigger the pipeline, the more data can go through that. And right now, the data is finite, it's not infinite. So this will increase that, yes, it will.
Does it provide 5G or 4G or?
It'll be, all the new towers are 5G.
Any other questions from the council? For Mr. Leidy? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we closed the public hearing, but we reopened it for Mr. Leidy. Is there anyone else then would like to speak? Well, hold on, let this gentleman come first right there. He was.
My name is Mark Holmes. I live at 123 Bridal Court. I just kind of like to speak in regards to what he just said. He said that our property values wouldn't be diminished. I sell real estate with Berkshire Hathaway. Have a study right here that was done by Berkshire Hathaway. It says that they surveyed 1,000 people. It said 94% reported that cell phone towers in their neighborhood would directly affect people buying in their neighborhood, and it says that 79% says under no circumstances would they purchase or rent a property within a few blocks of a cell phone tower, and almost 90% of those people said that they were very concerned with the increasing number of cell phone towers in the residential neighborhoods, and they would not buy if the neighborhood had a cell phone tower anywhere near it. Also, he said in regards to the tower, it was going to be pumping out more horsepower. We needed more horsepower. I've got a study here by the American Cancer Society that says that the stronger the signal, the higher your risk for cancer would be. It says the number one thing would be from a 5G tower. The more horsepower it pumps out, the more radiation it pumps out, and the more people that are going to be susceptible to the radiation. So just in regards to what he just said, there's some studies that say otherwise. I don't think that anything has been concluded one way or the other, but of course Verizon is going to tell you it doesn't. But do you work for Verizon, sir?
No, I'm a contractor with Bret.
You're a contractor? Okay. And whenever they work on these towers...
Sir, you cannot.
Okay. I'm sorry, okay. When they work on these towers, they have to wear radiation suits. So if there's no radiation being pumped out and it's nothing that you have to be concerned with, why does a worker that goes there for 10 or 15 minutes to service a tower have to put on a radiation suit? Pumping out radiation. So.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm not.
Robert Brennan, 241 Jerome Court in Auburn. I don't live in the neighborhood, but I formerly ran a radio station, so I'm pretty familiar with some of the RF. My question actually would be to the gentleman behind me, but I can't ask him. So how tall is this tower going to be?
260 feet.
260 feet.
200 something feet? If it's going to be 5G, I don't understand why it's going to be so high, because 5G, they're using multiple small cells to propagate. They're talking about using telephone poles for them. So I think that it's more than just 5G, I would guess. And is it going to be red light strobed, or is it going to be the bright white strobes that drive you crazy? That's very important to the community that's going to be living nearby.
260-foot tower. Let's see. We don't know that. We don't have the answer to that.
I think it would be good to know, because it deals with the FAA, and I'm sure this gentleman knows behind me, but it would be good for the neighbors to know, because if it's going to be the bright white lights at night, it's discerning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hold on just one second. Is anybody else, before you come back, is anybody else would like to address the council that hasn't already?
Ron, can we say something at this time, or do we need to wait?
Have to wait till after the public hearing's over. All right, so yes, sir.
Yeah, I was the one who made the statement about potential other side, and you asked the question about the other side. So, I'm just going to add a little bit that it was stated at the Planning Commission meeting by the property owner that there's another site available. He owns the adjacent lot, which is in the county, and I think I don't want to, you can check the meeting minutes, but the adjacent lot, I believe, is in the county, and I think that was implied, that was the backup site. Just since you asked the question, that's what you said.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else that'd like to address the council? Anyone? Okay, I will close the public hearing. All right. We have a motion from the council.
Okay. Well,
Hold on just one second, Connie. We need to get a motion a second before we have comments and questions. Yeah. Do I have a motion?
I have a question. If we don't move to proceed with it, what happens?
Dies on the table.
You gotta either postpone it or table it.
If there's no motion, then
It dies on the table.
It dies on the table. The other thing to note is making a motion for approval and seconding it has no bearing on how you choose to vote. That's just moving something forward, should you choose to get it off the table, in essence, by making a motion.
And can we move to disapprove?
The proper way is to move for approval to get a second, and then you would vote against it. It's okay, though, if you motion to approve, that just means you're willing to vote on it.
Okay, all right, so do we have a motion? Okay. Move on?
Move on, then.
It's moot. Moot point.
All right, item 10A3 is a request from Randy Smith on behalf of Grid Enterprises LLC for conditional use approval for the expansion of an existing commercial and entertainment use, a lounge, for property located at 122 West Magnolia Avenue in the Urban Core Zoning District with the College Edge overlay designation. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its January 9th, 2020 meeting. A public hearing is required.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council on this item, would you please come forward and give your name and address for the record? Just want to make sure they're not coming forward. Okay. Anyone? Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
I'd like to move that we postpone this agenda item. At our packet meeting on Friday, there were a lot of questions, and I don't believe that we've had the opportunity to have that presented to us with regard to some figures and some other information. So with all that in consideration, I would ask that we postpone this to a date certain that the assistant city manager thinks that the city would have time to provide that to us.
I second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to postpone this to a date. How would we handle the date in this motion?
Believe that the information you were requesting, and it would be helpful also, I'm not sure if the applicant is here, but to signal some of that, because that was just a packet meeting you had where you discussed the agenda. And while it is a public meeting, it would be helpful for the record here if you can restate some of those questions, and I'll be happy to help you with what I recall from that meeting as well.
Certainly. One of those questions was, for that general area in general, how many calls from the Auburn Police Department have responded to that area? Secondly, what would be the additional capacity allowed? And then third, what are the state and city guidelines for age allowed in different types of establishments, whether it's a lounge, a restaurant, bar, and so forth. So there were quite a few questions.
And I believe you also requested that the drawing that was in your packet was quite difficult to decipher, and you were hoping for a little different of a drawing that may help you better understand what's going on. And then on the capacity, we're wondering by the additional square footage. You had an estimate from the chief building official, but we don't have official building plans, so we're estimating 200 to 220 additional occupants capacity on that. But the more data we have, the better number we can boil down for you. The alcohol licenses, your request also to just further expand, and we do have some information I'll be forwarding later this week, are the different types of licenses. The City of Auburn moved some years ago to align our licensing and the way that we handle it directly with the state of Alabama, and that's what city code says. There's a number of different licenses, and normally you do have some on your agenda, and I'll be sending you a guide, and only one of those is age restricted. That's clear, and it's a specific type of lounge. It's a retail lounge. I think it's Class 1, but we'll send you more information. One of the items that still comes to pass is I also believe you were asking what types of licenses are generally issued in this vicinity and wanted some more information on that, and that will take us a little more time. I do believe the data that you're asking for, we'll check with the applicant about the drawing piece. The rest is on city staff, and I believe we can provide that by your February 4th meeting.
And to add on to that, I think there was we were requesting a little bit more information, potentially statement from public safety, fire and police as to, it's a pretty dense area, a high population, just to get kind of feedback on their thoughts on adding an additional proposed 220 in the occupancy in that building.
Ms. Crouch, is it reasonable for us to expect to have a little more advanced drawings and elevations of this project for us to make this consideration on?
I'm going to have the planning director speak to really what's required for a conditional use process and what you're actually considering, just because you're asking for a good bit of data, and I think that clarifies kind of where that would go.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, at the conditional use stage, typically we look at it as a conceptual plan. It should give you enough information so that you have an idea of what's going on and you can make a determination and a judgment. What's not required are what we call fully engineered plans, which would come at a more detailed administrative site plan review stage. But if the council feels what you see is not sufficient for you to make an educated decision on what's requested, we can get refined plans and request those be provided.
Is this image the image that was provided by the applicant? I can't even tell what this image is.
Yeah, it's kind of scrabble, but it's really not relevant. The important thing to know is that they're adding a concrete deck on the second floor with bathrooms, new construction of bathrooms that would accommodate the additional occupants, with the actual concrete deck space added being in the neighborhood of 1,300 square feet.
Thank you.
And I have two questions for staff that I'd like a response to prior to us reconsidering this. What was the planning commission vote on this? That's probably really easy to find. And then the other one was that the staff comment on the section that says the proposed use will not have undue or adverse impacts on the surrounding area. And then the things that they asked to consider, that is public health, safety, and general welfare. I would like a further background information on what led the staff to conclude that there was no safety impact.
Well, the answer to the first question, it was recommended approval unanimously.
Thank you.
The answer to the second question is, really what you're looking at when you're reviewing a conditional use fundamentally is compatibility with the surrounding area. The fact that you are in an urban environment with multiple lounge uses in close proximity, the fact that you're adding an occupancy that you've demonstrated you can accommodate, doesn't cause us to believe there's any undue or adverse impact based on the existing conditions today and what the future conditions would be tomorrow if this addition was realized.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to postpone to the next meeting in February, which is February
It
the
was
4th.
to a date certain of which you hadn't determined, so your choices would be February 4th. I think we can provide you information. If you still don't have what you need, you can continue to postpone the agenda item, or you can postpone it to your second meeting in February, whichever you prefer to do.
I moved to postpone to date certain February 4th, first meeting in February, to allow staff to provide the additional information regarding the stated questions, and also a more, detailed rendering that is legible from the applicant, please.
Good enough? All right, and we got a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion, second. Are there any other follow-up questions or comments from the council? Okay, so at this point in time, we'll be voting on postponing this until the first meeting in February. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Yes, ma'am.
All right, item 10A4 is a request by David Slocum on behalf of Dilworth Development Incorporated for conditional use approval of an outdoor recreational use subdivision amenity with pool, pool house, gym, and parking lot for property located at the current terminus of Farmville Lakes Drive in the Comprehensive Development District with an overlay of Planned Development District. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its January 9th, 2020 meeting. A public hearing is required.
At this point in time, we'll open the public hearing. I'd like to address the city council on this issue. Please come forward. Give your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, Mayor, item 10B is a resolution concurring with the decision of the city manager to add 12 additional police officers.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the council?
There's a public hearing required.
Is there a public hearing required for this too?
Yes.
Correct.
It actually snuck onto the agenda item form, and it's not necessary, but I think that the city manager also felt at the time we marked it in part just to make sure if you wanted to have public comment, you could. We usually do that out of an abundance of caution when it appears off the consent agenda. But it's not state required. This is at your pleasure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. If anybody would like to address city council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Do we have any comment on it?
Okay, excuse me, go back. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments?
We're adding, 12 officers, and I know in our former meeting, what kind of a calendar can we look to seeing these guys out in the street, guys and girls out in the street, trained up?
The chief register is here, and I'll have him address that, but my initial comment is to understand it takes time to recruit and train and get people in the field, and so he can address that better from the time they're recruited through training, but, it will take a number of months to get the additional officers added on the road, and some of that has to do, we also have some existing positions that we are continuing to add and fill, but I'll have chief register address that more directly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Typically, when we onboard people, we have to go through, as she mentioned, a recruiting process, and then we bring applicants on board. If they have no experience, then we have to send them to the police academy. It's usually a matter of 8 to 9 months before we actually get them out on the road, patrolling in the cars and so forth. And occasionally, we hire those that are already certified, and in that case, you're talking of weeks to months at that point. So it does take a good bit of time. But again, we are actively engaged in our hiring process currently. We have applicants currently that we will be going through, and we should be able to utilize this pool to hopefully fill some of these vacancies, and we will continue with consecutive hiring processes until we fill these vacancies, if approved.
And with these 12, this will put one officer in each beat at all shifts, is that correct?
It will absolutely increase our visibility and also our presence. Currently, we have some beats that have to be covered by more than, one officer covers more than one beat. This would absolutely put an officer in every beat. It would provide more officers in our busier areas, some of our shopping, residential areas, a lot more presence, more proactivity, being able to hopefully reduce traffic accidents and, prevent crimes as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Paul. Thank you, Chief. Okay, any other comments or questions?
I'd just like to say it's probably one of the most important decisions you'll make as a council, and I highly support it. We definitely need it, and we've been needing it for a while, and I'm very excited to get these 12 extra officers on the street. I'm sure the chief is as well. And it's just, I can't say how much the police appreciates the council realizing the needs and addressing those needs. Y'all have all been very supportive of our public safety, particularly police, and just appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Tommy. Any other follow-up comments? Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items of business we have on the agenda this evening.
At this time is an opportunity for the citizens' open forum. You can come and address the council on anything on your mind. You have 3 minutes to do that, and please give your name and address for the record. So anything you'd like to talk to the council about?
I'm Margaret Wright, 500 Brookwood, and I did some research about the subject you brought up early in the meeting, Mayor Anders.
Yes, ma'am.
And I wanted to give it out. Everybody. Start right here. I'm a retired registered nurse. Saw in the paper that a physical therapist said patients didn't need warm water to do therapy. They could just jump in a cold pool and be fine. That's not true. And so I found a small town that has successfully managed to have an indoor swimming pool since I was 5 years old. And it can be done. I know we have failed to do it here with a bubble. That was a terrible mistake. But if you'll just look at the middle paragraph, In water, you can move without putting stress on joints. So folks with knee replacements, Parkinson's, rheumatoid and osteoarthritis, multiple sclerosis, heart problems, and so many other problems benefit from this pool that I'm describing above. I've seen people like this often at the Health Plus pool. A great disservice, especially to seniors, will be the closing of the Health Plus pool. I've been swimming 5 days a week for about 50 years and know that the warmest pool on the Auburn campus is too cold for anyone who can't swim at least fairly fast. And you can't park on campus there during regular hours. And the pool is full of people that are smart from China, Korea, and Japan because they know the healing power of water. It takes about 50 minutes to drive to and from the Opelika Sportsplex. So please consider asking the hospital to let the Auburn City Recreation build a side entrance to the Health Plus pool and to make it available at least temporarily. Who knows, you may need a knee replacement soon. If it must be demolished, please build another indoor pool first. What about putting a building over the Sanford pool? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Crouch, do we have any update from any of the other pools, Opelika or Auburn University? Was there not some discussion about them raising the temperatures in some of their pools?
Yes, I'm going to have Becky Richardson confirm, but Mayor Fuller in Opelika, I think graciously has agreed, working with their Parks and Recreation staff, to raise the temperature at the Sportsplex.
Sorry, Ms. Jackal, hold on just one second.
My understanding is that Mayor Fuller has authorized them to raise the temperature to 84 degrees.
Okay. Anything at Auburn University?
Their temperature is 83, 84 in their recreation pool. It is true that their competition pool is a much lower temperature.
Thank you. I'm Roberta Jackal, 531 Hamilton Hills Court in Auburn. Thank you very much, Mayor Anders, for speaking with Health Plus. I had comments written out. I'll have to adjust them on the fly because of what I've heard. I would like to talk about I hope things work out and the Health Plus pool can stay open, but if not, I really would like for y'all to keep in mind why an indoor pool is vital to a growing and livable city like Auburn. Health Plus has met numerous needs of our community, needs commonly met by municipal government. In a sense, the resources that Health Plus has provided to us has really let this city off the hook. Since all of the resources were available through Health Plus, the city could postpone doing what citizens in our benchmark and peer cities take for granted, having an indoor pool. We are lagging behind in an important recreational and fitness resources, and such resources are ones that our citizen surveys indicate are a high priority for our community. You may have read in Saturday's OA News how the Opelika Sportsplex is providing swim lessons to children. With the closing of HP, Auburn is losing an indoor pool that provided those swim lessons year-round. Because we do not have an indoor pool, Auburn children cannot get swim lessons year-round and relied on Health Plus. Drowning is the leading cause of death of children ages 1 to 4. An indoor pool is not restricted to rehab, as Mrs. Margaret Wright mentioned, but is also used by many for fitness swimming. A city-operated pool would be available for many more hours in day than the AU pool, where the various swim teams and PE classes have priority. So the hours are quite limited to the paying public. It's not like EAMC didn't warn the city. Terry Andrus, the former hospital CEO, contacted Mayor Bill Ham approximately 4 years ago and asked that the city be willing to take over Health Plus. What a lost opportunity for our city. Health Plus then, with plenty of time, could have been converted into an Auburn Rec Center. Another contact was initiated by Laura Grill, who replaced Terry Andrus shortly before Mayor Ham left office. That, too, was not seriously considered, and I believe it was not even communicated to the council. I really have to wonder about that as a former city council member. So, if things cannot be worked out to cannot be worked out with Health Plus in the hospital, and I hope it can. Let's put an indoor pool on a fast track. When a road or a bridge is no longer operational due to storm damage, triage is done, and the need is given priority. Regardless of what was proposed in the city master recreation plan or with the Ogletree Lake Wilmore site, we need a fast track process for a pool. I know I'm out of time. I find it embarrassing in a way that we even have to talk to the Opelika Sportsplex. Auburn citizens should not have to go to Opelika to get basic needs met. And for many of us, depending on where we live, it is a 30-plus minute drive to Opelika for something that I think this city of Auburn should be provided to its citizens.
Please wrap it up, Ms. Jackal.
I will wrap it up. I will say this. The city of Auburn is not a huge ship that takes years to change course. We are capable of nimbly shifting gears and responding to what I think are very legitimate citizen needs. We can and should fast-track building an indoor pool if the city is willing to be flexible and to respond to what citizens want and deserve. Having to get our needs met by using Opelika resources is not the answer. Thank you.
Let me respond first before anybody else comes up here, please. It's not optimum that our citizens are going to go to another community potentially to have this need met or to have this interest fulfilled, and I understand that. As I said 2 weeks ago, this council authorized through our Parks and Rec board and our Parks and Rec staff through a consultant to integrate with the community and come up with a needs assessment and a plan of interest and capital improvements for our community. That was a long process that we've invested your money in, that we did not hurry through, and we wanted to hear everyone at that time. And we put together a 5-year master plan that has been thoroughly vetted, talked about, discussed. There are no surprises in there. Everybody understood what we were trying to do and why we were trying to do that. Part of that plan is to build, and I'm going to call it an aquatic complex, okay? That there might be a better term for it. But a new pool complex that would be built at the Boykin, near the Boykin Center. And the piece of property we have identified for that currently houses another city service that we've got to get moved somewhere else before we can build this. It's our intention, and I believe this council, they can speak for themselves, will believe that if we can get that property available for a pool to be built, that we will do what we can to get it moving as fast as possible. That is a very convenient piece of property. The city can't control all the pieces of property that we own. A lot of times we interface with people in the community to do that. And so it's important to us, and I'm sorry, as I stated 2 weeks ago, this is personal for me because my dad spent a lot of his time in his later years of life at Health Plus. I understand you're frustrating and you're hurt and you're disappointed. But our city, I feel like, has acted responsibly through this process to try to provide a pool that this community can be proud of for generations upon generations. I don't know how we got to where we are. Okay, that pool's been behind Sanford School when it was Auburn Junior High. I took PE in there in the late 70s. Okay, it's been there a long time. I guess it replaced the pool that used to be at the gym where Jan Dempsey and Frank Brown are. There was a city pool there when my family first moved to town, next to the former Lee County High School. We get it. I understand. I have heard you that a pool is important, and we have even said that we haven't designed that yet. So I know that there was an outdoor concept and an indoor concept of that potential plan, and we will certainly consider that this indoor concept needs to be strongly evaluated and potentially done. But right now, all we can do is go talk to the hospital and talk to them about their plans, and then try to find a new place for our municipal services. So then we'd have an opening spot for a pool. And I think we're doing all that as fast as we can. Okay? All right. I know there were some other people that would like to speak.
I'd like to also address that, Mayor. I had no idea the place was closing, and had I known, I'd try to do something about it. And I'm sure the rest of the council is the same way. I don't like it being implied that we knew something about it being closed, because I had no idea it was being closed till these good people come up here. I suffer from Parkinson's disease. I know how important the pool can be like that. So I'd be your biggest supporter, but I had no idea it was being closed until I heard from these good people.
I didn't use the line. You all did not know. I'm questioning why you were not told because others.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Slayton Crawford, 1171 Gatewood Drive, apartment 216A. When I was here a couple of weeks ago, we had just been blindsided by the hospital about the closing of Health Plus. I'm really encouraged today that the city has started so fast and so promptly to look into this to see what could be done to save Health Plus. I think that's the mission today, is to save that facility. I've heard many people, and you could hear many, many more people talk about the attributes and the benefits of Health Plus. That is a given. It seems to be before us today is how to save it. I talked to one of the county commissioners a few days ago, and he had heard a little bit about it, but he and I discussed it a good bit, and he told me that he was sure that the county commission would be glad to work with the city and probably would be able to help support that through the city. And looking at the facility as it is today, that's a very, very large facility. It would be a complete waste of resources that had been put there for 2 or 3 doctor's offices. You could build 4 doctor's offices in probably 90 to 120 days. For a fraction of what it costs to put that facility there. It's designed for what it's being used for, and I don't think there's any way you could look at it economically that you could take the value of that facility for a few doctor's offices, even though we don't need doctors very badly. But I would certainly commend you for what you've done to try to work it out. But it seems like a partnership between the city and the county, because that opportunity is laying on our doorstep this morning. And it may not be there later on. If we tried to start from scratch, it'd be several years. Thank you for hearing me.
Yes, sir. Who'll be next?
Lindbergh B. Jackson, 814 North College. I want to just say amen to the church that is in favor of the pool, because I have used that pool that I've spoken before. And I also want to confirm that what the former councilwoman had said, I had heard that news also. That's why I spoke the way I did about it, because I have people that work at EMAC, and that offer had been made, as I heard before, that it was being reconsidered. But I'm here tonight on a total different matter, and it's the same matter that we spoke on last week concerning the Richland Road and the Dunford Drive and the church property. And I'm just wondering, is there an update, Mayor, from the city manager or the Public Works Department in terms of where we are and doing something out there in that area?
And specifically tell us with the things that you've made a suggestion that should be looked at, the crosswalk, is that correct?
Well, it was the mid-block crossing that I was concerned with, as well as the sight distance at Dunford and Richland Road, right in the curve. The safety of people that parishioners there at the church being able to back up and not worry about going over a cliff there, as well as falling into the street and on the public right of way. So those were the things that I had that was concerning me on that. So if you can ask.
Ms. Crouch, I know 2 weeks ago we talked about this was on our work plan, but I think there was some.
It's the same as 2 weeks ago. It's on our work plan, and I want to reiterate that this agreement is with the church. We have an agreement with the church that we will honor. We're moving forward. We have a number of things on the work plan that's on there. The church parking has always been on a hillside, and nothing's changed about that as of today. We are working through. We will get the work done. This is work we perform ourselves, and it has a long list of other things that we're working through, and it's getting closer. I'm in contact with Mr. Woody, and when we plan to get started, we will inform the council and the church when we plan to get started.
Well,
have we concluded that there's this mid-block crossing is a safety concern? If we,
The mid-block crossing is an entirely separate issue and not related to that, and that is something that the city engineer will be working through. We also had some ALDOT jurisdiction. There's also, I believe, Councilperson Griswold knows this very well, his constituents in the area are also asking for a change to the far lane where it's a through and a right turn lane, and they would like to see, and there's a double left, and they would like to see some items adjusted, and those are the very things that city engineer is looking into that in tandem with crosswalks and other things, because that requires some redesign over what had been previously approved, and we're also crossing ALDOT right-of-way, and that's, nothing's changed about this, but these things take a little bit of time.
Well,
yes, sir.
I want to say, even though there was and is a agreement with the church, this is not just a church matter. This is a safety issue for citizens that use Richland Road as well as Dunford Drive, and people that park there on the church property as well. And there was an agreement made, and there were several of you guys that went out to the site along with myself and agreed that the mid-block crossing, the sight distance on that hillside, surely there's always been a lot of things, but when there's a change, there comes a time for another change to be made for the safety of the citizens. So, you're stressing the fact that it was between the church, but it's the citizens, not just the church, that travel that road. So I just totally detest you going back to the fact that it's an agreement between the church and the city. We are the people. We the people, as it is in the Constitution. I want to also say this. I have some concerns, changing the subject. I have some concerns at the Sam Harris Park. There has been a bridge put in at the Sam Harris Park. There is some future development that's planned, and maybe our Parks and Recreation Director can address this. And there was told to me, when the plans for the park was being improved or being drawn, that there would be some cleaning up of the screens along that waterway there. I was out there just a few days ago. Even though progress has been made to clear the land and etc., I stress the fact that that property sits where the park is being improved is on a former landfill. You can walk that screen and see debris coming out of the side of the banks right now. Now that the kids can cross over, walk that screen, this park has not, if there has been a phase one done, it was a very, very poor assessment. And that EPA requires phase one where people are going to be using property such as that. I apologize to Councilman Taylor for not being able to meet her out there and show her what I mean.
Wrap it up, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. Well, some of my time got taken up with you asking the question.
I understand. I think I gave you.
Well,
I gave you a few
I'm going to
extra
wrap
minutes.
it up.
I understand.
As quickly as possible. I'm
Thank
making
you for
a
doing
point.
that.
I'm making a point.
I gave you a few extra minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And I want to take those minutes. But what I'm saying here, it's a safety issue. Safe, sound, and sanitary for the kids in Northwest Auburn that uses that park. And I would like to find out, if you don't mind asking Becky, if that screen is in the process of being cleaned up like we were promised when the park was being expanded. If you'll do that, I'll politely take my seat.
Let me just say something before you ask that question, Mayor. I want to go back to the issue on Richland Road first, because I was getting ready to say something, but sure. I was interrupted. But I did call the city, and I left a message for an update on Richland Road. I did not get a response from them because that's my ward. I would like to know the updates so that I can communicate the answers to the public so that we don't have to bring this to the council every week. So if I could just get an update, then I can make the communication. But I did call the city for an update, and I never got that update. Okay? So some of this can be really Even with the question he's asking now, I did go, he was supposed to meet me out there today, he did not. And I went and looked myself, and part of what he's saying is, he said, well, what he's saying is true, not part, but what he's saying is true. So if we could, if somebody can follow up with me and give me updates, then I'll be able to communicate that, because I do have a task force that I report things to, so I can communicate that to the community. So, and that's what I'm asking going forward. If I can get an update first, then I'll communicate it. But, I mean, he's free to ask or make it
I was
any
asking
questions.
him to ask about the phase one and the cleaning up of the street.
Sure. Ms. Crouch, is there a plan, or what can you tell us about the cleaning
Mayor,
up of this stream at Sam Harris Park?
We've been over this on multiple occasions with this whole area in Northwest Auburn, and we are confident moving forward. We're making improvements in the park. There hasn't been a recent phase one done because there's been no reason to call for it. This was a long time ago landfill, way preceded my time on staff. We have some staff members here, Mr. Dunlap, Mr. Woody, and some others that were here when things were done. Al Davis has returned to our staff. We wouldn't be proceeding with having a park there if we thought there was a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare. If there are items that have not been cleaned as part of the park renovation, you just received a capital improvement report. It's in your packet that we're still working. We just installed the bridge, and there are other improvements to be done. It's not 100% complete yet. So if there's something else there that was supposed to be cleaned up, I can have Becky Richardson speak to that, but I would prefer to give you a status update on where that is when I have a little more time to send you an email about it, which we'll be happy to provide.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you for doing that. Yes, sir. Is there anyone else?
Helga Wilmuth, 1233 East Sanford. I know I was up here last time. I just wanted to tell you how important it is that we have an Auburn pool, because we are elderly. We have people who are over 90 who are coming to the pool. There are about 20 to 25 in the 9 o'clock class. Then there's an 11 o'clock class and a 1 o'clock class. And we have to drive now on the interstate and are exposed to traffic for half an hour, which is, well, not what I had wanted to do. So I just wanted to add that to your consideration and thinking about it, to please, even if you for 1 year can keep our pool open, we would very much appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Who will be next?
Dr. Biblis, 921 Bibb Avenue. I just want to say what everybody else has said, that the importance of the pool, the doctors are sending us there. That's kind of what we need. And also the Exceptional Foundation are still going to be downstairs, so they are allowed to continue to be there. And I just hope that you can work something out with the pool, because we need it. And the doctors, that's part of the one that they say, go to the pool, go to the pool. And it's very well used. I have lost 1 day, except for the one I've been traveling, and that was the day my husband passed. Otherwise, I have always gone when I was supposed to. And that's many, many years. And it's extremely important for us. There are so many diseases and things. I mean, it's the knees and the hips and, well, everything. Neuropathy and a lot of things. We need the pool. And so please go back and talk to the hospital and see what you can do. It's extremely important for a lot of us. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mayor, to answer a question about some of the things they were saying, in your discussion with the hospital staff, some of the discussion maybe could have been, these doctor offices they talking about, maybe they could locate them somewhere else temporarily until...
They've got a couple of phases in this building of rehabbing it, and phase one is the area that the pool's not a part of. They're going to add half those doctors this year to that as they finish the construction, and then phase two would be the piece that considered the pool. So their communication to me is they were very determined to bring those doctors in and place them inside that building. Yes. Yes, sir.
My name is Gilbert Rivera, 2225 Mount Vernon Lane. I want to let you know that that pool was designed by the hospital for people that needed therapy. That's what it was designed for in the first place. It wasn't designed to make money or anything else. Now that the officials up there have changed, all this is going away. You know, it's been there 20 years. I've only been here 27 years, but my wife's worked there for the full time of 20 years. She became a head instructor there, and she knows more about it than I can, but she's not here tonight, so I'm talking. You know, that's exactly what it was designed for. It wasn't designed to make money or anything. It was designed to help the community so that the doctors at the hospital could send people there for therapy. Now, I don't know if they still do or not, but that's what it was designed for. Thank you.
Who would be next?
Oh, that would be good. I'm not sure he can do it.
I'm Frank Oracle. Uh, 1629 Overhill. My group wanted me to come up. I have ALS. The hospital is not responsible for me having ALS. The NFL has got a little responsibility. I've got a lot of it. But I like to, they told me swimming would be good for me. And I go there twice a week, and go there 2 other days for a machine that I asked them to buy to keep me alive. I need to swim. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm in this position. But it's important to me, and I'm thinking for the rest of you guys too. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Name's Frances Smith. I live at 618 Seminole Street. I'm up here to clear my good name. I was not the physical therapist that is quoted as saying that the temperature of a few degrees doesn't matter. It really does. I can give you documentation. I know you guys are tired. I've been an aquatic therapist for over 15 years. I'm a physical therapist. I just moved here recently from Jacksonville, Florida. I work for Brooks Health System. They have several pools. They actually had a medically based fitness center, very much like Health Plus, that did not do well financially. And what happened was the YMCA bought it. And it sounds like it's a rumor, so I don't know, but it sounds like at one point the YMCA was interested in Health Plus, the one in Montgomery. This is what I'm hearing. So I'm just throwing that out there in case anybody can make that possible. But, and they kept the pool and they kept the therapy. There was a therapy department in there and they kept it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But I don't really have any more to say other than I just want to make sure everyone knew that I wasn't the physical therapist. I appreciate so much that you talked to them. I know that was going way above and beyond what most city governments would do. I think we're talking to the wrong people. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Mayor Anders Lees, General Counsel Herbert Walter DeMar Jr., 412 Opelika Road, Apartment 111. I in support of the speakers tonight in reference to Health Plus, I would like to say that I have two neighbors where I live who, to make a long story short, have heart conditions. One had to go out of state to get treatment just recently. I think she had to go twice. I know another one who used to work at Byron's, and he's now at the point where he's got to use a walker. So I'm sure that those people are among those that need this pool the most. And, you know, I would echo what many have said tonight. Continue to do what you think you need to do. Maybe we can influence Health Plus to change its mind. I hope so, but I thank you very much.
Anyone else? Sure. Hold on just 1 second, sir, before you come back. Hold on just 1 second, sir. Is anybody else who hasn't spoken that would like to speak? Okay. Yes, sir.
I already got my name and address, so I'm not going to give it to you again. But you know, Health Plus has been in trouble for over 6 years, and they knew it. And they could have done something about it, but they didn't. They just let it go. You know, and that's the officials at the hospital. You know, and they've changed officials at the hospital since then. And they've just created a bigger problem with it instead of fixing it like they should have.
Mr. Vera, you have a right to say anything you want to up here. It's not my job to judge those officials at the hospital. I'm grateful for East Alabama Medical Center and what they've done to provide health care for our community. And to me, they're a great asset for the Auburn area. This is their facility. This is not our facility. We are trying to have a conversation with them about what their intents are moving forward. But I have a lot of respect for the people who work to try to provide health care for the people of Auburn. And I appreciate what they've tried to do. Sir. Anyone else? Okay. We'll close this part of our council meeting. Anything from the council? If not, is there a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.